Welcome to Illuminated Lamb, where we discuss the themes of Christ and light as found in the Scriptures. If you're following us on YouTube, please comment, share, like, and subscribe. Really helps our placement in the YouTube algorithm. Several years ago, my wife and I, along with a couple we know, went to a downtown Detroit bookstore, which has a large collection of a variety of books. A lot of them are old and out of print. One of the things I did, knowing that what I'd be looking for would probably be something of a needle in a haystack, and as you may have been able to gather from these podcast episodes, my interests are church history, Bible, theology, and the like. And I was looking to see if I could find something that was, for lack of a better term, out of the way, something you normally wouldn't be able to pick up at a local brick and mortar bookstore here. And what I did was to pray and ask the Lord to guide me to something that would be of benefit and something that I couldn't really find somewhere else. I believe he answered that prayer. There were two books that came up that day. The one I want to mention in this podcast episode is one called The Great Rest Giver by William Haig Miller. This book was published in 1891 by the London Religious Tract Society, and it has something of the arrangement of a devotional on the theme of Christ as the great rest giver. This theme can be found from Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 through 30, which read, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." What I found to be William Haig Miller's, for lack of a better term, thesis statement of his book, I was able to find at the end of chapter 2 of the writing, which says, "Who then is this Jewish peasant whose sweet voice has been sounding down the ages with the words, 'Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest'? He is the true rest giver, for under his unpretending form is veiled divine power and majesty. He comes to bring man back to true rest by leading him to submit his will to God's will, as revealed in his word and providence. Of his ability to give this rest in all the varied circumstances of life, we propose in these pages to furnish some illustrations." For your spiritual benefit, I will be reading chapter 4 of this book, entitled God's Presence. Another boon which the rest giver bestows after the pardon of sin has been received removes his teachings far away from all earthly systems of philosophy. He enters the heart of the Christian and dwells in him by the Holy Spirit. The soul thenceforward, mysterious as the truth may appear to those unaccustomed only to material objects, or who have been seduced by a science falsely so called that would banish the Creator from his universe, becomes the temple of God. In the beautiful language of Archbishop Layton, a noble guest is within the Christian, and his chief business is to entertain him and lead a celestial life. He is now in truth a Christophorus, or Christ-bearer. When Caesar was in the storm, he cheered the boatman by telling him that he carried Caesar and his fortunes. But the follower of Christ carries one higher than the highest of earth's potentates. In the Arabian fable, the possessor of the enchanted ring had, in circumstances of emergency, but to press it, and the genie appeared and supplied all his wants. The Christian, however, has an almighty friend, possessing the resources of omnipotence, who has promised never to leave him nor forsake him. He cannot go where God is not. In solitude, he may say of him, in the language of the Latin poet, "In solis tu mihi turba locis." In solitude, thy company to me is equal to a crowd. With Moses of old, he has the promise realized in his experience. "My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest." Should he take the wings of the morning and flee to the uttermost parts of the earth, he will find there that his divine protector has preceded him, guiding his steps and guarding him in the unknown future. After John Campbell, an African missionary, had been commended to God in prayer by his friends in London, the first person that he met in Africa was an attached friend, whom he had lost sight of for years, and whose presence in that part of the world he was ignorant. Instead of landing among strangers, God had guided him to a spot where he found all the love and affection he had left at home. The pious William H. Hewitson seems well to have understood this abiding repose in the realized presence of God, for we find him writing, "To rest in God without leaving that home, without ever venturing out of doors and away from under the roof of God's covenant love, to have our hearts balanced on God as their center, this is to be blessed indeed." The illustrious General Gordon sustained himself in his heroic course by the remembrance of the same great truth. The indwelling of God, he wrote, is the key of the New Testament. I hope you will find this spiritual treasure, written over 130 years ago, to be of benefit to you in your current day and age. The arrangement is done wonderfully. I recommend that if you can find an old paper copy of the book, or finding it in various forms online, particularly in Google Books, it is definitely worth the read. I highly recommend it. I pray it will be of benefit to your soul. I will see you on the next podcast.